I grew up in Paris until the age of 7.5 when my parents decided to move back to Warsaw after the fall of the wall. I think the best way to put it is like going from a colorful movie to like a black and white film. That's how we perceived like the reality, or at least from the perspective from a child's eye. So I stayed here in Warsaw until the age of 17, and then I moved back to Paris to study for a year. And from there I went to a School of Fine Arts and Design in Reims. And then from there I went on to follow my education in Switzerland at École. Going to school and seeing the lake and the mountains every morning was a very beautiful experience, but the school itself was amazing. It feels a bit like a little factory. You know, we have students from photographic, graphic design, fine arts, media and communications, so it was amazing like to be able also to start working internally with students and collaborate. After I finished my studies in Switzerland, I went first back to Paris for a few months where I worked for a gallery. From there I went to Munich and to London, where I stayed for about 3 years. And from there I moved back to Warsaw. The portable walls, the collection I designed based on Sándor Mikó's armchair, was inspired by his by the architectural characteristic of the armchair. It's much more a small architecture rather than a piece of furniture. First, were the pictures, the photographs of the collection of the museum, specifically for the arrangement and the idea of the series, the collection and the landscape. And the context of the photograph as well. So that also interested me, like to really see what were the topics, what was exhibited and what was the context of the museum. And then slowly it brought me to choosing, selecting a few items. It felt like diving into an ocean, like it's starting to find your way around and navigate and then pick up things. For us designers, I think the tubular chair by Marcel Breuer is like iconic pieces, but then I figure out that it's very difficult to bounce back from that project because it's such a essence, it's such a reduced project to its minimum that it's very, it was difficult to work on this piece, or let's say based on that project. So then I decided to focus my attention on the Sándor Mikó armchair, which is very interesting for various reasons. First of all, I think it's you can really see it's a piece reduced to its bare minimum. I don't know how much was it the fact that, you know, the geopolitical circumstances like kind of defined kind of the way the piece was designed, and also the technology and the materials. The inspiration for the feet of the walls from the Sándor Mikó armchair. There are 4 blocks of wood that kind of elevate the chair, which are the feet of the chair. So this way I wanted to kind of with a little bit of humor also to imply that the walls can move, really to give that idea. But it was also inspired by Sándor Mikó's armchair. And something I'm really interested in is this, what happens, you know, this relation between space and objects, and how today we trying to define spaces much more by your users rather than the function assigned to the room. So I decided to work on small partitions, walls, to the scale of the object. It's a series of 4 walls mobile walls on wheels, which basically users could, in whatever way they want, and starts. It's like a small choreography. You can adjust it to your needs. So it's something that really interests me, like this relationship between objects, architecture, it's a support for a body, so it elevates the body, and it was a sign, and it's something that really interested me, was also the 2D, 3D aspects. And it's mainly because of these themes, not really because of the design itself, but really the ideas that kind of, or the project kind of inspired me. The colors used in for the portable walls were really, I think the way I choose color is very intuitive, so it wasn't in opposition to Sándor Mikó. Also the way, for example, I think the original ones he designed for the tea club or club in Budapest, where the upholstery was very colorful, so it was blue, like a light electric blue. So, but no, it wasn't. Also, some of the elements are in metal, so I had to paint them. So it was no, it was very intuitive, very kind of also to create signs out of them. So probably color helps too. Walls now walls were designed for the scale of objects, really, or books, so let's say smaller items. But I could easily imagine them being larger, really, so they could be really like real walls in a real system, much larger. Often, like some of my projects relate to the idea of space, because I work very often with exhibition design, so it's very often, you know, you have this problem, very pragmatic problems, like how to show objects or a specific or curatorial perspective if you work as an exhibition designer. So, and very often you're dealing with the problem of the wall, how to, and often there are angles, so. Or there are budget restrictions, so putting a background sometimes helps you to read better objects. It's also this different mediums with which I work kind of help and inform other projects, how I see them, and also that these small portable walls, I see them something in between, like a museum plinth, you know, where you can place objects in their fourth, or something in between a small piece of furniture and architecture, but they're independent from it. Yeah, I was thinking to continue a little bit working on a theme I already started when I did a project for Quadrat. And Quadrat asked us to work with one specific textile and create. We're very free to choose, let's say, the typology. So I decided to work on a series of like soft walls, which I called backgrounds. It's a system of like small partitions, space dividers that you can hang and then adjust how you'd like, and create an architecture within the existing space. So it was my starting point, and then very quickly I decided maybe to go a little step further and then work with a rigid material rather than a soft one. But also it was due to the a constraint we had with the exhibition room. So it was easier to place objects rather than hang them. The luxury situation, it's that the pieces, I really consider like museums a place where you can really elaborate on ideas and really work on, rather than a finished product. So it was really, I felt very privileged to have that context, because very often we work for, you know, specific companies, specific contexts where a given project has to work immediately, and here to have a space where you can develop and try new ideas, and then maybe afterwards apply it to a different body of work. It's a great opportunity to have that kind of context.